Hello, everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of this series on the possible origin of the Quran. Today, we are going to talk about some of the tools that were basically created or invented or even added in the 8th century and beyond to assist in reading the text of the Quran. Why is that important? Well, with me here in studio to discuss all of that is Dr. Jay Smith. Dr. Jay, welcome back.
Thank you.
Why was it, I'm an Arab, of course, and I read Arabic, but I'm just for the sake of our viewers. Why was it necessary to add tools, dotting, vowel markings, diacritical marks, to assist in reading a text?
To understand that, you need to go back to the 7th century. You need to go back to the time, supposedly, when the standard Islamic narrative, what they claim, let's look at the Sif, let's put it in there. What they claim is that there was a guy named Muhammad who received these revelations between 610 and 622. So that's that 632. So that's that 22-year period from 610 to 632. So let's go back to that same time period. Now here's where Odin has really been helpful, and this is where Thomas has been really helpful from Germany. Odin from France, also Mel, who's you've had on your channel.
And who are these people, just for the benefit of those who are hearing about him for the first time?
This are the Sin Sifters. We are the Sin Sifters. We are the group that you brought on board back in 2021 on that live stream where we introduced them. These are the guys that I'm using to do all the research.
Right.
They've been doing this research. Well, Odin has been doing this since 2009, so for 11 or 12 years he's been working on this material.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, who is in Ireland, has been working on it. Thomas is taking much of the material from Gerard Puyn and von Oleg and von Bothmer and Goldziher, all of this great material that's coming out of Germany, and he is the one that's unpacking part of the Inada group, and this is their material, what they've come up with. And what they're saying is, when you go back to the 7th century, you will see that there were a lot of writings that were written in Aramaic, but they were writings written in Aramaic that were nothing more than lectionaries and homilies and hymns. Lectionaries, homilies, and hymns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? LHH. These are that were being used and passed down all through the northern part of what we now know today as Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq, and what is today Iran. Now, all those areas was part of the Levant. This is part of the Mesopotamia. All that northern area, they were all Christians, and they were doing this in liturgy. And what they would do is they would write these texts written in Aramaic. Now, the Aramaic was used by the clergy and was used for theology and was used by the academics. Mm-hmm. But on the people who were down below, the people who were the workers, along the people who were actually the working class, they all spoke Arabic. So Arabic was spoken by the working class. Aramaic was spoken by the educated class. Now, we've seen examples of this all the time. Take a look at Egypt. You had the hieroglyphics, which were all created for the aristocracy, and then you have the Demotic, which was all what the working class people. Mm-hmm. Two completely different scripts, two completely different languages. And when the Egyptian aristocracy were destroyed, hieroglyphics was destroyed with them. And so when all these archaeologists came across the pyramids, and they came across the Sphinx, and they came across these obelisks with all these pictographics script, they didn't know how to read it until Champollion came across a tax code known as the Rosetta Stone. And the Rosetta Stone had hieroglyphics. It's a tax code, nothing really, it's just a nondescript stone, but it had a tax code written in hieroglyphics, in Demotic, and in Greek. We know the Demotic, we know the Greek, so by looking at the Demotic Greek, they were able to reproduce the hieroglyphics alphabet, and that unlocked hieroglyphics for us. The same thing was happening in the 7th century, but it wasn't lost language. Aramaic is still known today. You can read Aramaic, and many of our Christians in that part of the world, the Syrians, still read Aramaic today. Mm-hmm. This man right here, Gabriel Sama, he is an Aramaic speaker. He wrote this book because of that, because this is his language. This is his forte. Mm-hmm. It's still well known. No Muslims read it.
That's right.
Christians do. Hold on to that. That's very important. So here you have this Aramaic text. These are homilies. And they started introducing this into Arabic for the people on the ground. Taking it from this liturgy, this very sophisticated aristocracy, bringing it down to layman's terminology, you had a problem. Because Arabic was just being created as a written form. And I want to show you, and I want to go to the slides now. Let's look at the slides, and I want to show you a text. Take a look at this right here. This is the manuscript that you're studying in your doctoral thesis.
That's right.
And over there is the Samarkand. What do you notice about this? Can you read that real easily as an Arabist?
Well, You have to be careful because I look at him all the time. It's easier for me, but as an Arabic, just if you give it to any Arab speaker right now, they may pick few letters, few words, but can they read it easily? No.
No, you can't. You can't. In fact, there are many different variations of what you're reading, and you can see you could cause all kinds. So there was a problem because this was a very crude text. It was being lifted from the Aramaic. That's why it's very similar to the Aramaic, and yet it could not be read. And so they had a problem. So they needed to solve that problem. So here's the Sana manuscript written in about 705. There's the Samarkand, which is written about 719, 720. These manuscripts needed they needed to solve it. So what did they do? Well, what they did, let's take a look at what they did. And here now I just want to show you this. These are the 28 letters that we have today.
That's the Arabic alphabet as we know it today, complete with all the necessary marks and dottings that allow an Arab reader to understand which letters you're looking at.
Okay, there are 6 letters, however, that don't use dots. Let me just point them in. As I do them, I want you to read each one. So the first one is that one there. What's that?
That's Alif.
Okay, that's the ah sound, right?
Right.
What's this one down here?
Kaf.
That's the kaf, okay? What's this one here?
Lam.
Okay. What's this one here?
Mim.
Okay. What's this one here?
Ha.
And then what's this one here?
Wow.
Okay, so those are the 6, right? You notice there's no dots with any of them.
Correct.
Of the other 22, you have to have dots.
Right, and may I point something? Like you see the shapes, which we will talk about right now, but the dotting dictates how you pronounce it.
You needed that. This did not, see, in the 7th century, there were 14 to 16 letters that they had. When you look at those manuscripts we showed earlier, that's all they have is 14 to 16 letters. Now we have 28 letters.
Right.
Here's the difference. And what I want to do is I want to just show you. So let's take a letter that's just a smiley face. Most of your Arabic letters, I call it smiley face or a bold shape. It's very simple when you do that. When you put one dot above it, what happens?
This is noon.
Okay, so that's like the N sound that we have in English.
Right.
When you put 2 dots above it,
Ta.
that's like the T sound that we have in English. When you put 3 dots above it,
Tha.
which is like the TH sound that we have
Right.
in. All right. So those are those 3. But we can go far. Yeah, you can get 3 different letters looking at just one spine. But however, we also have another ones that go below. So when you put 1 dot below, what it become? Like a B sound.
Right.
And when you put 2 dots,
Yeah.
like the Y sound.
Right.
So when you put them all together, let's see what happens. Just read them.
Noon. Ta. Tha. Ba. Yeah.
So, can you see? Thus, you can get 5 different letters with 5 different dots. Very important. Now, as you know, when you open up an Arab dictionary, all the words there always have 3 letters. They're standard 3 letters, right?
Which is the radicals, yeah.
The radicals.
Yeah,
but you not only need
yeah.
dots, you also need vowels, right?
Right.
So, let's look at the vowels. Those are the 3 vowels.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is the fatha, this is the kasra, and this is the dhamma.
Okay.
So here you can say ta, ti, tu.
So it's
For
a,
instance.
I, and u.
Yeah.
Or u, I, a if you
Yeah.
go from left to right. But in Arabic, you always go from right to left.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 vowels, and you also have long ones and you have short ones.
Right.
But in the 7th century, can you understand? With these are known as the harakat. When you add these on
Correct.
top of the 5 letters, which are the ijabs,
Correct.
you can get quite a few different variations.
Absolutely. I mean, without these and without the dottings that you just showed, it's open for grab. I mean, anyone can pronounce it however they want without any guidance because they didn't know what was the intent initially.
Remember, let me just show you this next slide. Take a look at this slide here. Here are, with just putting the smiley faces and the vowelization, the dhamma, kasra, and the fatta, my friend came up with 19. You say that you can come up with 33 different.
Yeah, I was involved in an amazing book project called The Quran Dilemma. I encourage everybody to go and buy that book, where there is actually a table that has, if my memory serves me right, more than 30 examples like this. So what you have here are letters connected together. We call it the Rasm. And you use the 3, which is the simplest way. But notice it's the same Rasm, but when you change the location of the dots and even the harakat, notice what's going on, how many meanings have emerged. Some of it is noun, some of it becomes a verb, and so on and so forth.
If you change one letter, it changes the word, does it not? If you
That's
change
true.
one word, it changes the sentence, does it not?
And it can change the meaning
It
also.
can change the meaning, it can
Right.
change the
The
belief,
theology.
it can change the doctrine.
Yep.
Isn't that what you and I are doing? We're going through
That's true.
slide after slide after slide. And what are we doing?
And this is why I am baffled sometimes when I see or hear that people say, oh, it's still the same Quran, Warsh or Hafs or Ibn Kathir, it's still the same Quran. How is it the same Quran? Just look at these things. How can you say it's the same? If one letter is different, it's different Quran. Just one letter.
And we're finding as we do and look at the difference, we're just doing Hafs and Warsh. We're just going between these two right here. These two.
You haven't even
right
touched on the other 5.
We haven't looked at the other. Oh, we haven't looked at the other 28. There's 28 that we can.
And those are the canonized, by the way. There are non-canonized readings.
These aren't even part of the first 7. You're
That's
right.
right, yeah.
These are not part of the Qira'at.
Yeah.
These are riwayats.
I think you had it flipped.
I have it upside down. Let's make sure I get it right side up. Can you see the Arabist realizes I've got my Arabic upside down? And
we know we want our Muslim friends not to feel like we're doing anything wrong here. So
can you see with just these two, there are 5 different, and every time, and that's why we're now putting up on your site. I'll be putting up on my site. We need to show that when Muslims say there's not one meaning, there's not one doctrine, not one. This is what Shabir Ali keeps on saying. There's no difference, Mr. Smith. There's no difference, Al-Fadi. You guys are just making this. You're blowing this out of proportion. Take a look. If you can look at right here, there's 19. You say as many as 33 that you can come up with.
Yeah, I don't know why you chose 19 because you feed into the miracle of 19.
Isn't that interesting? Can you now see why we chose 19?
Yeah.
This is the miracle that they're claiming. This is another exposing their miracle.
Yeah.
Well, listen, what we're going to do next then, we're going to now move out of that, and we're going to start coming back to, we want to actually go and look at some applications of this.
Absolutely. And that's really where the meat of this whole series will begin to materialize right now. So hopefully everyone is tracking with us as always. Hopefully you are seeing what we're seeing. And hopefully you can begin to recognize that we do have a problem. We do have a problem. And what we're trying to do is come up with ways to at least resolve some of the tension that is rising. In other words, yes, the standard Islamic narrative is telling us one thing, but what we're finding is a contradiction to that. So there is a tension. How can we resolve this tension? And that's the intent behind this series. Is there a possible way to resolve tensions like this? And hopefully you can join us, of course, next time and after that as well, because I believe you are going to be enriched by everything that will be shared. And by the way, this is just, like my brother mentioned, a green paper, meaning that we are still going to bump out maybe white paper later and possibly even more information until we fine-tune the whole thing. However, as always, we're open for any pushback, academically speaking. Not just emotionally yelling, not just, basically throwing rocks at us just because we're sharing things that we can back basically up from sources. We welcome a dialogue, an academic, professional, respectful dialogue, and we're always open for that as well. So thank you everyone for watching and hope to see you again next time. This is Al-Fadi.